So here's an image of one representation of Shiva Shakti. So there is this underlying continuity. I've heard Joel reference it in the past as the hidden continuity of this awareness, right? This presence that's here connecting all of us, right? Is this one unifying process. And then the Shakti is the manifesting force, right? So the Shiva is the underlying unchanging stability, right, of reality. And then the Shakti is the energy that creates everything, right? It's the aliveness of manifestation, right? So it actually is every thought, it is every feeling, it is every sensation, it is every tree, it is every smell, it is every sound. The Shakti is all of the dynamic manifesting energies that are emerging out of and as consciousness. Okay, so this is just the nomenclature that gets used in Kashmir Shaivism, Shiva Shakti. And so Shimaraj, one of the great initial proponents or authors of Kashmir Shaivite understanding, described the Shakti manifesting process as spanda. And I love this word. It has the same root as spontaneous, right? So the spanda is the spontaneous emanating creation that is being born in every single moment, right? It is the throb of creation, right? So that is the spanda, that is the Shakti. And so it is being manifest every single moment, born into reality every single moment. So this understanding then invites us to recognize this underlying continuity and the ever-changing dynamic manifestation, the throb of creation.
And these are the words of Shimaraj describing spanda. The essence of spanda consists in quivering light, which holds in its bosom endless cycles of creation and dissolution. She is the waves in the ocean of consciousness, the willpower of the Supreme. And if we could go to the next slide, please. And this amazing energy is very often in this tradition is a feminine term for consciousness is used, chitti. Chitti means consciousness, but it's exclusively a feminine term. And also this energy then is adored and worshipped in this tradition as not something separate or different, but our own very energy, the energy that is everywhere, including right here. So this is the particular form, the Paradevi, the supreme goddess form that was venerated in Kashmir for, and continues to be, but especially during those ancient times.
Mm. So Jim described the invitation to adore everything that is here, but everything is here is also an adornment, right? So everything that we experience is an adornment of reality, right? So in fact, the root word of adornment of cosmos in Greek is adornment, right? So all of this is an adornment of Shiva Shakti, right? So then we not only adore it, but we recognize it is the adornment. We are the adornment. All of this is the adornment. And so this is all just condensed vibrations of the one energy, right? Just like water can express as water, as ice, as steam. These are just different densities of the vibratory experience, okay? And so we begin to explore recognizing and seeing this clearly as these expressions of this goddess consciousness. So if you go to the next slide, Tom, thank you so much. And this isn't a live slide. If you don't mind hitting the go button, that would be fantastic. So Garab Dorje, the founder of Jojin, put it this way. He said, "You are and always have been Vajrasattva, the infinite consciousness, this living presence and creative power of the divine. Love being our essence, attainment is already complete. Phenomena are not other than the true condition. Earth, air, fire, and water are the indwelling divine. Not 2-1. Not 2-1. Okay. So the practice then is this strong emphasis on relationship, right? The quality of relationship with what we're encountering, with what is here. right? So that is the focus of practice, to discover one's true nature, this true nature as Shiva Shakti. Okay. And as Jimbo named in the last talk, the emphasis is not on neti, not this, not this, not this. The emphasis on iti, this, and this, and this, and this. Okay. So it's a radically inclusive view, which in my humble opinion is probably needed a little more than, than at other times in our historical moment. So being able to attune to this constant communication, right? That we're being reminded in each moment that this is divinity birthing itself. Like, so this is the invitation to practice this and this and this and this in every single moment, okay? So that means that every interaction and encounter, whether it's pleasant or difficult, so this is one of those moments where it can be like, this sounds like a bliss bunny path, and wouldn't that be great if life was so easy? But it's everything that arises. Every pain, every sorrow, every fear, every delight, every ecstasy, every befuddlement, without exception. This and this and this. Can you get a feeling of that? Yeah, okay. So this is really where the non-dual devotion arises. Because when the view becomes more and more clear that that's what this is, then everything, everyone, every experience begins to have this invitation into recognition. Into seeing clearly. So I love this process. I like to call it popcorning. And popcorning is, I'm going to just ask a question, and I'd love a handful of you or so to give a brief response. So as we dive more deeply now into non-dual devotion, I'd just love to hear some examples of what it is you are naturally devoted to. What are you naturally devoted to? Sound. Okay. Connection. Nature. Eating. Perfect. What else?
My son.
Your son. Anything else you're naturally devoted to?
Jennifer.
Oh, yeah. Our beloveds.
Sunshine.
Sunshine. Yeah. Okay. So we begin to recognize that we have this instinctive devotion, and that these processes of where our instinctive devotion arises naturally begins to be this really powerful pointer. So why is it we're devoted to these things? What is it that calls forward devotion in these relationships? Well, it's when we begin to relax out of the idea that we're separate. We begin to have deeper receptivity that, oh no, you and I, we're in this together, right? The music, the trees, the people we love, the eating, the sound, whatever it is. Okay. So one of the, and we begin to recognize that these processes of devotion are so powerful instinctively, but we all, in our day and time, we overlook them, right? Or we love them when they're here, but we don't really recognize that this is the invitation home, right? This is the invitation home. So we have these experiences where these processes become more and more clear, right? We all have these moments of recognition that there's not two here, there's one, right? And one of the metaphors that I love is how they'll dip a cloth in the olden days. Now I'm sure they do it very differently, but they would dip cloth into a vat of dye. And every time you dip it into that dye, it takes on more and more of the color until it becomes certain, right? That expression becomes certain. So in our process, our spiritual path in Kashmir Shaivism and in this non-dual devotion, we get these little dippings. We see it until there is no longer any doubt, So one of the experiences I wanted to share that was one of these dipping into the vats of dye, if you will. I was at HSU up on the hill, and I was walking to the School of Nursing between classes or something, whatever it was. And it was in the fall. And it was one of those days where the color of the trees is so brilliant, it almost hurts. Do you know that color? Right? When you look at it, you're like, oh, you're like, really? Is this really happening? So exquisite. And in that moment, there was I was adoring the manifestation, right? But then no longer was I adoring the tree was adoring me. And then I completely disappeared. Any sense of I disappeared. And it was just the tree in its exquisite beauty. It completely collapsed in the love of the thing, right? So just one of those momentary dippings.
So we're going to share a beautiful portion of a beautiful poem from Yaneshwar, one of the great poet saints of India, who wrote a poem about Shiva Shakti, about this single reality that's so dynamic. Whether you are the seer or seen, it doesn't matter. There is only the one self vibrating everywhere.
From the standpoint of vibration, there is nothing but vibration. So even though you see, do you really see?
It is not that the appearance is arrayed here and the seer is over there. It is only your own vibration that you perceive when you see.
Just as the nose might become a fragrance, or ears might give out a melody for their own enjoyment, or the eyes might produce a mirror in order to see themselves.
Or just as the cheeks might become a soft breeze, or a head might take the form of a fragrant blossom in order to produce a sweet scent.
Or a tongue might become sweetness. A lotus bud might blossom as the sun, or a nightingale might become the moon.
Or flowers might take the form of a bee. A lovely girl might become a young man, or a sleepy man might become a bed on which to lie.
Or as a slab of gold might become articles of jewelry for the sake of beauty.
Just so, the one pure consciousness becomes the enjoyer and the object of enjoyment, the seer and the object of vision, without disturbing its unity.
There is really no action or inaction. Everything that is happening is the sport of the self, Shiva Shakti.
The undivided one enters the courtyard of duality of its own accord. Unity only becomes strengthened by the expansion of diversity.